Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English new edition for tonight headlines. We have the head of state address on the occasions of the commemoration of the 75th anniversaries of the Council. More than 60 rich countries joined the WHO vaccines access schemes of COVID-19. Welcome to our newsroom. As they do every year in September, world leaders will meet this Tuesday in the United Nations compound for the General Assembly, but in the midst of the global crisis caused by COVID-19 pandemic, the voice of the world leaders will not resonate in the vast New York complex. The building is almost empty. No leaders have made the trip. Rather than postpone this diplomatic high mass, the organizers have chosen the virtual mode with recorded video on Monday. In his opening address to the 75th UN General Assembly, Antonio Guterres stressed the need to work together to improve global governance, stressing that national sovereignty is pillars of the UN but must go hand in hand with the enhanced international cooperation. Biodiversity will be in the spotlight with the virtual global summit on 30 September. Gender equality will also be a flagship topic with the 25th anniversaries of the Beijing Platforms for Actions and Organizations of a high-level event on the 1st October. Finally, Agenda 2013 and the Sustainable Development Goals will also be at the top of this year's agenda. The 193 members of the UN have been invited to be represented in the General Assembly, all at UN headquarters by a diplomatic from their missions in New York for the next 8 days. For the head of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh has indicated in his speech on these occasions. Listen for more detail.
Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur le Secrétaire général des Nations Unies, Mesdames et Messieurs, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Nous nous félicitons de l'organisation de cette session spéciale dédiée à la commémoration du 75e anniversaire des Nations Unies.
Praise be to God, peace and blessings be upon the Prophet, his family and his people, and his companions. Mr. Speaker, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government, Mr. Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome the organization of this special session dedicated to the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. This anniversary is a symbolic moment of commemoration that invites us to undertake a work of collective reflection and take a look back and a look forward perspective. We reiterate our deep gratitude to the states that after the end of during the Second World War, they came together to found the United Nations to find common solutions to the security and economic challenges facing the world. This is not an exhaustive inventory of the main achievements of our organization. The rules-based architecture it helped to establish and promotion of international cooperation have been instrumental in the building of a safer world, setting out clear priorities and defining a framework for action based on burden sharing among states has had a significant impact and achieved many of the goals set out in the UN Charter. While the gains are undoubtedly recognized, it is also true that the United Nations has always been subjected to criticism. Some of these are subtle and contribute to the facilitation of critical thinking, which has made it possible to identify avenues for reform. Others are overwhelming and are formulated without nuance. They are well known. I will therefore not repeat them. The result is that the United Nations has been constantly called up to reform, to reinvent itself in order to remain relevant and to continue to play a central role in the world affairs. The decade of constant adaptation has never been more urgent and vital. The perpetual onslaught of the organization in the crisis of the very essence of multilateralism have been aggravated by the existential crisis that COVID-19 poses for the international community. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all areas of the United Nations work and has called into question the gains made in achieving sustainable development. It poses an urgent need for a massive recommitment to a global collective action. We express our deep gratitude to the Secretary General for the development of the global response to COVID-19 and its active role in advocating to the multilateral financial institutions for constant support to vulnerable countries. We are grateful to the UN 75 team for launching the most comprehensive and effective Great Conversation of the World, a broad UN system-wide constitution that gathered contributions from all, especially young people, reflecting contemporary concerns about a more just future and creative solutions to the challenges of the present. In an uncertain world with changing realities, we must strongly reaffirm our faith in multilateralism and the central importance of the United Nations. Let us learn from the lessons of our 75 years of existence, and let us work together to build a trajectory that avoids peril and allows us to identify the opportunities and potentials before us. What matters is the future. We need to start forging it now.
Tirons les leçons des 75 ans d'existence de notre organisation et attachons-nous à bâtir ensemble une trajectoire qui évite les périls et nous permette d'identifier les opportunités et les potentialités qui s'offrent à nous. Ce qui importe, c'est l'avenir. Il nous faut dès à présent se mettre à le forger. Merci de votre attention.
Following the death of the late Sultan Hanfari Ali Mirah, who died last Saturday in Addis Ababa, condolences are pouring in from Radio Television of Djibouti. The Honorable Deputy Ali Humed Hassan and Kamil Humed Ahmed Abdu Kamil, President of the Regional Council, Muhammad Humed Ismail, General Director of Harmonica Company, Jilani Hassan, the Chief of the Villages of Alay Dada Ali Angado Hassan, Muhammad Ali Umar, Technical Advisor, and the former Chief of the Cabinet, Gora Meki Uttu, Muhammad Saeed, President of the RPP Fruit Party, Muhammad Ali Muhammad Warki, all wish the most condolences to the families of the late Sultan Hanfari Ali Miraha. The Interior Minister Mumin Ahmed Sheikh received the new ambassador of the Republic of Philippines in the Republic of Djibouti with residence in Ethiopia, His Excellency Sulpicio Confiado. Discussions between the ministers and the ambassador focus on the strengthening of relations between the two countries. As part of the visit to the refugee villages, Menfop Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud went to meet the wise men and elders of Ali Ade villages. He was accompanied by parliamentarian of the region, the UNHCR representative Johan Damkul Sakor, the executive secretary of ONAHS Hussein Hassan Darar, the local authorities of Ali Sabih. The delegation is receive a warm welcome from jubilant population. Folk sang and dances opened the meeting, which took place in a room in the training centers adjoining the baccalaureate examinations room. The wise men and elders, as well as the local authorities and parliamentarians, expressed their sincere thanks to the Minister of National Education, Vocational Training, who has fulfilled the promise of the head of state Ismail Omar Gelle by allowing refugee children to take the baccalaureate in Djibouti. For his part, the UNHCR representative Mr. Sakar paid tribute to the public authorities who have just written a new pages in the history of the legendary hospitality in our country through this baccalaureate examination is offered to the children of the refugee. For his part, the Minister of National Education Vocational Training, Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, said he was pleased to participate in this historic event. The tests are continuing normally and in good conditions, and the overall organization of the baccalaureate examinations is going very well. The minister recalled that in recent days, Menfop is engaged in many construction sites and rehabilitations of school infrastructure. The commitment is part of the President's policy to offer an inclusive and quality school to all children in Djibouti, he concluded. On Sunday, 20 September 2020, a large delegation led by the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, His Excellency Mustafa Muhammad Mahamoud, visited the locality of Ali Ade in the Ali Sabih region. The delegation was composed of the Minister, the Prefect of the region, the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Umar Ahmed, the Executive Secretary of ONAHSA, Hussein Hassan Darar, the Secretary General of MENFOP, Mohammed Abdallah Mahyoub, the representative of the UNHCR, the Secretary General of UNESCO National Commission, Mr. Muhammad Musa Yabe. Delegation traveled for a visit to an examination center for the high school graduation certificate exam scheduled between Thursday 17 September to Thursday to 24 September 2020 in the classrooms of the Nelson Mandela School. Examination is composed by these refugee children in Ali Ade is a tangible proof of the country's commitment to the most vulnerable, especially children from families who have fled the conflict and confrontations that unfortunately continue to plague our country. The Minister of National Education, Vocational Training has observed firsthand that the 22 candidates wearing their protective masks COVID-19 were placed in the best conditions and congratulate the managers of the examination center as well as the Directorate of Examination and Competitions. For his part, the Minister of National Education, Mustafa Muhammad Mahamoud, has observed firsthand the 22 candidates wearing their protective masks were placed in the best conditions and congratulate the managers of the examination center as well as the Directorate of Examination and Competition. It should be stressed that the high school graduation certificate gives future laureate the keys to university pursuit, and MENFOP is already working to close the loop by involving the MENFOP in the process to enable these students to touch their dreams with their fingertips, that of trainings to extricate themselves from darknesses and obscurantism and above all addictions. Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, commander of the Coast Guard, welcomed the new commanders of the French forces stationed in Djibouti, General Stéphane Dupont, as part of his towers to make contact with the country's high military authorities in the premises of the General Directorate of the Coast Guard, stationed at the port of. Upon his arrival at the Central Directorate, General Stéphane Dupont, commanders of the French forces stationed in Djibouti, was welcomed with military honors, which is due to his rank by the troops and officers of the Coast Guard. During their meeting, the commanders of the Coast Guard, Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, and the General Stéphane Dupont, together affirmed their common will to further develop cooperation and coordination between the two institutions within the framework of the historical and privileged relations between the French Republic and the Republic of Djibouti. Colonel Wais Omar Bogore gave a brief presentations to the commander of the FFDG on the various missions assigned to the Coast Guard and its various installations strategically located on all the Coast Guard of Djibouti. For the international scene, as every year September, world leaders will meet this Tuesday in the UN compound for the General Assembly. But in the midst of the global crisis caused by COVID-19 pandemic, the voice of the world leaders will not resonate in the not leaders to have made the trips rather than postponed. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to improve the global governance, stressing that sovereignty, and during the statement, 180 countries leaders are expected to make speeches with the pre-recorded video taped speeches on up of to 3 minutes. Among them are 132 health, state and government starting today and for a week. The same leaders will deliver further speech to the General Assembly to fight the COVID-19. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.
Le ministère